हेलो एवरीवन, वेरी वार्म वेलकम टू ऑल ऑफ यू। वेलकम टू टीचिंग पाठशाला और मैं हूं आपकी एजुकेटर ज्योति। सो टुडे वी आर स्टार्टिंग आवर डिस्कशन विथ मॉलिक्यूलर मार्कर्स एंड दिस इज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट important टॉपिक फ्रॉम मॉलिक्यूलर टेक्निक्स. I mean we are talking regarding the CSR UGC net syllabus. Okay, so first of all we have to understand that what are molecular markers. Okay, so not only molecular markers, there are different kind of markers. It's like when we mainly used to categorize markers, there are different kind of markers, like some markers they used to denote for phenotype. Okay, some are biochemical marker, we also used to call it as a like a protein marker. Some are molecular marker. Fine. So in this way we used to categorize markers. So first of all we have to understand the term marker. Okay, so suppose, like, just take a very common example. Marker is what, whenever we, in real life also, whenever we use marker in a book, that is for marking certain lines in that book, right? Similarly, these markers are present in DNA. So these markers, they are going to mark the DNA segments, because we are going to, like, we are dealing with the molecular markers, means we are dealing on molecular level. Molecular level means the level of DNA, right? So the molecular marker means the stretch of DNA or the stretch of nucleotide which are present in genome, that is at a some kind of location, that is also in repeated manner. Okay, so these are the stretch of nucleotide sequence which are found in different location in genome. They are called as a molecular marker. Also we used to call it as a genetic marker. So in simplified form we can call it as a small stretch of nucleotide sequences which are present at a different location in a genome, that is also in a repeated manner. So this is, you can say that this is an accurate definition of molecular marker. Now, if we talk about the properties of molecular marker, so first of all, the first property is they are in a repeated manner. That means, suppose just for example, this is a stretch of DNA and here there is a presence of one molecular marker. So here it is repeating, it can repeat at certain location also. Like here also it is repeating, right? Again, it can, like we can see the repetition of these particular markers at some other location that is in a same genome. So in this way they can repeat themselves. Okay, although we are taking, like we can take it as a 3 only because it will be better to understand. So this is what called the repetition. Okay, they can repeat themselves at a certain location in the whole genome. So make sure they are going to found in different way, that is throughout the genome, and that is also in a repeated manner. Second most important fact is they are mainly non-coding sequence. They are not going to code anything, so you can consider that they are present in a silence way in our genome, and they are mainly non-coding. That means they are not going to code for any kind of protein. That means these sequences, they are not going to change in mRNA, not even in protein. So they are not going to code any protein. Third, very important fact, they are heritable. That means it can be inherited from parent to offspring. So that is why the molecular markers which are present in parent, they could be transferred in offspring, because they are mainly heritable in nature. They have a tendency to travel from one generation to next generation. That is why they are regarded as a heritable molecular marker. Fourth important fact, which I have already told you, that they are the marker. That means they are going to mark the DNA segment, right? Because they are present at certain locations, so somehow they are acting as a marker. Fifth important fact, that is related to the functions. They are going to play very important role in forensic science. Whenever a certain kind of disputes are there, like parental disputes. Okay, so at that time, obviously DNA fingerprinting, it used to help a lot. Also, whenever there is a kind of a crime scenes, at that time also there is a use of molecular markers, and they are going to help in solving all those kind of disputes. So they are going to help in forensic science. Sixth property is they are helpful in identifying different genetic disease, because they are not changing, right? They are not changing with time. In fact, they are they keep on traveling from one generation to next generation, so they may be helpful in identifying genetic disease. Seventh important fact, they differ from one person to another. Okay, suppose a person is there, person 1. So in person 1 we can see the molecular markers that let's consider that in person 1 the molecular marker is in this form. Okay, so there is a two, they are repeating in a twice form, right? But in person 2 it may repeat in this way. Okay, it may repeat in a this way. So it may vary from person to person. So we are going to discuss in detail that how they used to act and how they are going to perform their function with time and in what kind of different techniques. Okay, so let's make a quick discussion on the type of markers. Okay, so if we talk about the markers, so there are different kind of markers. First type of marker, it may include, that is the morphological marker. Okay, it may include the morphological marker. The second type of marker may include protein based. Okay, it may be a protein based marker, or sometime we used to call it as a biochemical marker. And the third category is molecular marker. So this is our topic of discussion, that is the molecular marker. So this molecular marker may be again like it is having a different type of category. So let's take few example that what are the different markers are there which used to fall under the molecular markers. So it may include like RFLP. Okay, RFLP. It may include VNTR. Okay, it may include RAPD. Next, AFLP. Next, EST, STS. Next, that is the ISSR. So these are few examples of molecular marker. So they are present in genome, that is at a certain location. Obviously the repetition may vary, like some may repeat on a random basis, that is also like the number will be more. Some may repeat on a rare basis. Okay, some may repeat that is in a like a 2 to 3 nucleotide base pair form. Some may repeat in the 30 to 60 base pair form. So it may vary depending upon the fact that we are talking regarding which molecular markers. Although I will be trying to give one lecture on all these molecular markers so that you could understand the difference between them. But for right now, you can able to understand that these are the few examples of molecular markers, and obviously they will be possessing the similar property, that is they will be present on the genome, that is also in a repeated basis. Okay, so now let's talk about the markers on the basis of inheritance, because we have seen that these markers have the capability to travel from one generation to next, and as because they are non-coding sequences, so they are not going to change in a drastic basis, right? So what we can say, there are total two type of marker on the basis of inheritance. The first type is known as dominance. Okay, the first type is known as a dominant marker. And the example of dominant marker, it may include ISSR, then RAPD, and next is AFLP. So they are going to show the dominant nature. What is the meaning of dominant? We will be dealing that soon. Next category is the codominant marker. Codominant marker. And the example of codominant is SSR, RFLP, and STR. Apart from these properties, codominant marker, they are useful in identifying that is the heterozygote as compared to the homozygote. Okay, so they can distinguish between heterozygotes versus homozygotes. Especially we can say that they are useful in identifying heterozygotes. So in case if they are identifying heterozygotes, obviously we can say that like the the sample which we are working with, that contain the heterozygotes, right? But in case of a dominant, they are going to show either the result in the presence of like present or minus, that is presence or absence. Okay, so let's understand what is the meaning of dominant marker and codominant marker. So let's assume one profiling, okay, a profiling of parent and a child. So let's assume this is a profiling of a parent and child. So first of all, we are trying to understand the codominant form. Okay. So first of all, we are trying to understand the codominant form. This is for parent 1. This is for parent 2. That is mother and father. And the F1 will be the, that is the first progeny. Okay, so F1 is the first filial generation. So what we can see, suppose let's consider, okay, let's consider that from father, that is from parent, we are getting this band. Okay, this is a band, let's shade it. Okay, this is a band we are getting from parent 1, and there is one band here that this we are getting from parent 2. Okay, and here will be the wells. Let's create a wells here. This is a well where the DNA will be loaded. So this is a picture of, that is the gel, right? So if this is having a codominant nature, okay, if this is having a codominant nature, then what we are going to see, that this F1 generation, it is going to show one band at this location, okay, and another band just at this location. So what does that mean? This means that the markers has passed from parent 1 to the F1, also from parent 2 to the F1. So this is what called, this is called the co-dominance. Okay, co means together. So this is a co-dominant marker because the F1 generation, that is child, is getting marker from P2 also and P1 also. So both are equally dominant. That means they are co-dominant. And that is why we have taken the example, that is the SSR, RFLP and STR. All these markers, they are mainly co-dominant in nature. That means they are going to transfer, or they are going to transfer in the next generation in this manner, right? And if we want to make a genotype of all these like the representation, we can write it as a capital A for parent 1, parent 2 we can write it as a small a, and for F1 what we can write, one F1 is getting one band from small a, that is P2, and one band from P1, that is capital A. So it is having a mixture, right? It is having a mixture, that is capital A small a. So that is why we have, like we have mentioned here, that is the codominant marker. They are responsible for making differences between the heterozygotes and homozygotes, because it is capable in identifying what heterozygotes. And what is heterozygotes? This is what called heterozygotes. Fine, because it is having a two different allele, that is first is capital A and second is small a. So this is what called the codominant marker. Now let's assume the second profiling, in which we will be understanding what is dominant marker. Okay, so let's consider the second profiling, that is for dominant marker. Okay, this is for dominant marker. So if let's assume that parent 1 is having a band at this location, okay, and the parent 2 is having a band, one band at this location. just like the previous one, just we have shifted the position of band. Okay, this is just a one hypothetical example you can say, or it is just a consideration to make you understand that how this dominant marker work. So let's assume that in F1 generation we are only going to get one band, and that is also just like the P1, and we are not getting any other band. That means from this area what we can say, that only P1, okay, only P1 has been transferred to F1 generation. So P1 is showing what? P1 is showing a dominant nature. So again, if we want to make a genotype of this, obviously we are going to write it in the form. Let's assume this is a capital B, capital B. This is a small b, and the F1 generation will be capital B, small b. But somehow we can't say that we are getting a heterozygotes, because heterozygotes will be called as a heterozygotes when it is getting one, like the marker from P1, that is parent 1 and parent 2 both. But as because the in F1 generation there is only a transfer of there is only a inheritance of one marker, and that is from the P1. That is why we used to call it as a dominant marker. Okay, because they are going to show the dominance in the presence of P1. Obviously, that is in the presence of P1, that is in a F1 generation, there will be no expression of any other marker. So this is what called the dominant marker. So now you know the example that which of the following or which of the markers they are having a nature of codominant as well as dominant. So in this way, we have seen that what are molecular markers. We have covered all the basics. In my upcoming session, I will be trying to deal with the different type of markers, and we will see the basics of that also. Okay. So now let's talk that what kind of question you are going to get from this area. So if I'm not wrong, there was one question that is in 2018, that is from this particular portion only. That is which marker it is going to show the dominant nature, and which of the following is a codominant marker. So suppose let's make one example. Suppose this is a profiling. Okay, this is a profiling, that is P1, P2, and this is a F1. Suppose we are going to get one band here, one band here, that is for parent 1, and for parent 2 we are getting one band here and one band here. But in F1 generation we are going to get one band here and one band here. So you will be getting an option here, like what kind of marker are shown in this particular profiling, and you will be getting different options, let's assume first example is like AFLP. Okay, first example is AFLP. Second, let's assume SSR. Third, that is RFLP. And fourth, let's assume STR. Okay, so they are asking with the help of profiling, tell that what kind of markers are present in this particular profiling. So if you see, only the P1, the F1 is only getting a band that is for just similar like a P1, like see here, right? And this band is matching with this. It is not getting any band from P2. That means what? There is a nature of dominance. That means here there is a presence of a dominant marker. And if we see the example, there is only a single option is there, that is the AFLP, because AFLP is a dominant marker. Okay, dominant marker. So this is how you are going to get questions in CSIR Net, even though they have asked this question earlier, that is in, I think it is also there in 2014 as well as in 2018, if I'm not wrong. So I hope this session was useful for you. Also, you have different type of molecular markers. Obviously you can go through that, and I will also be trying that if I get time I could elaborate all those different type of markers. Thank you so much everyone for watching this video. If you find it useful, then do share this video with your friends whosoever is preparing for CSIR net examination. Thank you so much.